Or, you know, someone, you know, fight to the death, 2 gladiators, 2 knights, and, you know, one kills the other and they, you know, get the sword. To take it back, so look, you know, here's the sword of the evil guy, that proves that the person's dead. But in this reward, Wizard of Oz, it's the broomstick, right?
Has to bring back the broomstick of the Wicked Witch. Yeah.
To the wizard, yeah. And so she takes that back. She seizes the sword. And
in her mind, that's everything. She's done what she's,
Oh, yeah.
all she's needed. Yeah, I got the broom.
The end.
Problem
Yeah.
solved. Yeah.
right.
You know, she doesn't know still it's coming. But in her mind, that's her reward.
I'm trying to think. Now here in Star Wars, you know, they blow up the Death Star. They really seize. I mean, to seize a sword may be, you know, figurative here. I mean, it's the knowledge that you blew up the Death Star. I'm not so sure.
I almost wonder if the ordeal, thinking about this now, if the ordeal is Luke learning to trust the Force to fire off those shots. That actually do it, and the reward is he finally gives in and trusts the Force enough that the reward is he blows up the Death Star.
I don't know on this one.
But that's seizing the
Well,
sword.
you gotta remember those Star Wars, they all ran in sequels.
Yeah.
Right,
so
there's a lot more to it.
sometimes the reward isn't made too big
Clear.
because they gotta go
Yeah.
on to the next.
Lucas knew what he was doing.
Yes.
Set up the
Yeah.
next 2
So
or 4
left
or
some
5,
things
whatever.
hanging.
6.
Well, let's talk about the next one, and that is the road back. So here, someone must be burning some incense or something.
Some of that too. Yeah. It's a wind down tonight.
Well, you see how cool. Maybe it's cooler out now. And open the windows. But so the road, it is going down, isn't it? Listening. The road back. I mean, Dorothy, and she's got to go back to the Wizard of Oz with the broomstick. But a lot of stories, you know, there's a road back where I look at this as the chance for the audience to decompress. Right? Where ordeal.
I think of it as fooling them.
Hey,
Like,
it can
they're
be that.
decompressing, but you're almost, you know, like, whew, story's over. We're just going to tie up some loose ends now.
Yeah.
All done. Not knowing that there's might be no more. You know, there's going to be one more twist coming your way.
If this is the
So are there
end,
multiple?
well, if this is the end, I'm thinking almost, how is the ordinary world that we knew about going to be changed forever?
Right. Well,
basically?
that's a good way to look
You
at
flip
it.
it right back. It's kind of what I see.
Is the road back? You can think of it as the road back to the ordinary world. But guess what? If the heroes change here, then
Never
so has their
is
ordinary
always
world.
there.
It's,
The
you know,
ordinary world will be changed.
Right. Yeah. So now, but what Dina said about kind of ran out of space here, but fooling them a little bit. All right. So the next one is resurrection. Spell it for me, Dina.
R-R-E-C-T-I-1.
I'm not the best speller in the world. That's why I like spell check. R-E-S-U-R.
2 R's.
2 R's.
E-C.
T-I-1.
All right, thank you. All right, resurrection. All right, so here's the thing. I mean, you know, we've had a satisfying story, the ordeal, the reward, the road back, where we're kind of tying things up. But this right here is one last chance to kind of twist the screws to the reader or the viewer. To have a resurrection, what do you have to have before that?
A death.
Death. That's right.
Is this where you're talking about? This is where you try to mess with her head a little bit. Go, what you thought was dead is really not, and it's getting ready to.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's a horror
So
movie
it's
where the
involving
guy
kind
is
of
gonna.
11 in there.
Now,
It's a
death.
zombie coming back from
Yes.
life. And
In a lot of those movies, yeah, you think everything's
Yeah.
fine, then the
Woo!
slasher
Yeah.
jumps through the window.
So
Yeah.
my question is, are there multiple ordeals?
There
There
can
can be.
Or are those
yes.
tests?
There could be you can say that those tests are mini ordeals.
Okay.
But everybody said it. You know, to have a resurrection, you have to have a death. But think of that death. It could be literal or it could be figurative. All right. And so let's look at the way I like to think about it in my mind is the death of hope. All right. So in Wizard of Oz, Dorothy our hope is she has a reward. She has the sword, the broomstick. She takes it back to the Wizard of Oz, and guess what? She gets to go home. Well, no. The Wizard of Oz is like, well, you know. And we discover there's this little man behind the curtain. And he doesn't really have the ability to get her back home. But then he says, so there's a
So
little
you're
bit
in
of,
another ordeal.
we
now,
are.
You know,
Yeah.
she's still
Going
trying to
around.
get to her ordinary world.
Yeah, and there's a death of hope right there. Oh, wait, maybe she's not going to get home after all. But then the wizard gives her some hope. I'm like, well, I came here in a balloon. Perhaps we can get back in the same manner. So there, with the reader, we give them a little hope again. So in the courtyard of Oz, they're all ready to go. Toto runs. She has to go chase him. She gets out of the basket, and something happens. Somebody kicks one of the ballast things or sandbags, and the balloon starts to float away. And she's saying, come back, come back. The wizard's going, I can't, there's nothing I can do. And all of a sudden, I mean, I don't know about you, but I watched that as probably 8 or 9 years old, and when that happened, I was about to cry, because like, oh my God, she's not going to get home.
I still do this.
Throw the dog out and
Yeah.
please save Toto!
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's
We can only take one of you.
take a dog.
Right.
But what the writer did was it killed your hope right there. And, all right, so
Suspense.
that's right. So when the wizard, Gloria, is it Gloria? Glinda the good witch came and said, well, you had the ability to get home all along with the glass slippers. Just click them.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden, okay, we're back where we wanted to be.
Then you get mad. You're like,
I know.
couldn't you have said that?
Yeah.
But what does she say? She says, why do you say that to begin with? Why do you tell me, I'm paraphrasing, but
Yeah.
Glinda says something like, you wouldn't have believed me.
Yeah.
I mean, isn't that,
Yeah.
Well,
how much advice do we all get in life, but we have to live it ourselves?
Is the death also could be the change in who the character was, and then they could have like a backslide or something like that to who they
Yes.
used to be?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
That could be the death. I mean, because,
That could be the
old
resurrection.
and The rebirth of the.
I'm thinking if you had
Yeah.
a character that's mean or something, and then they change to be nice, they could have a
It's
a
almost like
situation
new
come up
beginning.
with
a regression,
Yeah.
yeah,
So
like
The
regress.
Grinch Who Stole Christmas.
yes.
Okay.
His thing at the very end, he's always the monster, and then at the very end, he has his resurrection, he becomes the good guy and takes Christmas back to everybody, right?
So you actually given me a new insight into one of my favorite movies. I haven't read the book, but it's Old Country for No Men. No Country for Old Men. And I loved the ending. I mean, it just stopped. I mean, I love the Coen brothers, but a lot of people hate that ending.
Yeah.
But so I believe it's like the death of hope. But I don't know if it has a resurrection. So I don't know if Cormac McCarthy followed the rule to the very end. So
Which a lot of people's complaints about Hollywood movies is they're too nicely wrapped up. And
exactly, and that's why I love the movies.
So, right. So the ones that where
Yeah.
it actually makes you think and go,
Yeah.
wow.
It's
And
the opposite.
so yeah, what they did is
I
they kind of
love it.
deprived you of that.
Yes,
Yeah.
and apparently they followed the book. It was pretty faithful to the book. So I'm going to read the book next.
But what? So
But I thought the resurrection was
I don't think
bad.
I haven't seen the movie.
No. Resurrection's
No.
good. Well, it gives you hope back.
Yeah, and that's why the movie's so
Yeah.
great because it doesn't give you that hope. Even though I
So
like
I haven't
hope,
seen
but
that movie,
It starts
what
the
does this
cycle
really
all over
do
again.
to
Right.
your story?
Exactly.
Did you
Until
put it in or
good
don't
and
put it in?
bad's gonna
I
start
mean,
happening.
Yeah.
what kind of emotional
Okay.
feelings would
Do you want to
get?
have a happy ending
I was
or
going to
not
say,
so
does,
happy?
how does it change
Yeah.
with tragedy? Like,
Yeah.
I'm thinking of Dr. Horrible's.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
So if you leave it out, you would have the, oh man, I feel robbed and disappointed, but for the more intellectual,
well, I
Yeah.
mean, it's depending on what you like.
you have a
but
lot more, your mind can run
you
free.
can run, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
I was
Well-
waiting for a good ending. I thought he
think
was
about
gonna
it.
let her live, and then he walks out and wiping the blood off his face.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's the
Or you-
perfect ending. You just
Yeah.
stop. I mean, after Tom
With
Lee
the
Jones
Departed
does
or something.
the speech, but yeah.
So
You
there's
should
one
see the
more.
movie. I'll see Shrek if you see.
So, have you seen, so
We're
you,
gonna come back watch it.
Yeah.
No
No Country for Old
No
Men.
No country for old men.
They won the Best Picture award, right?
I can bring it to you.
so you, did you see The Departed?
Yeah.
So you like that ending, obviously.
Yeah.
Which-
That's
The Departed?
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But apparently the original's much better. That's a remake.
Yeah.
Oh, it is?
You know, one thing they tell you in fiction writing that kind of goes with the test and the ordeals and the road back and everything else is you always want to be asking yourself, what else can I throw at my protagonist? What else can I do to get in their way?
Yep.
You know, you're always trying to throw obstacles and blocks
Stories are about conflict.
Even in nonfiction,
If
you
there's
want to
no
read about how
conflict, it's
people
not interesting.
overcame, how they, so what were all the roadblocks and obstacles, and how did they move past them? And sometimes it's because they regress to that mean, angry person they were before, but they found a way to make that work for them, or it's now they're a better person and they don't regress to that mean, angry. It depends on what character arc you want for them. Sorry, go ahead.
Those- So the last one is return with the elixir. And everybody, do you know what an elixir is? It's like it's a medicine, and it used to be, snake oil salesman, like this will cure everything, right?
It's now NyQuil,
Yeah, that's right.
my elixir.
But again, figurative or literal, but a lot of times figurative. A lot of times this is knowledge. What is Dorothy's return with the elixir? So she gets back home, right? She wakes up, but what's her return with the elixir?
She's very appreciative.
Knowledge,
Yeah.
a specific knowledge.
Wisdom or something.
What does she say when
No
she wakes
place
up?
like home.
That's
No
right.
place like
Yeah.
home.
There's no
Yeah.
place like home. So it's, someone can tell us, hey, there's no place like home. When we're 16, we're like, oh, I can't wait to get away from home. I need to go see the world. But then you go out and you come back and you realize, you know what?
Please let me in.
Please take me back.
Please let me live in the basement.
It's still kind of knowledge.
Titanic, I was gonna say, Rose's return with the elixir, her knowledge is that she doesn't wanna live this, very shallow, rich person's life, and
Yes.
she'd rather live a rich life full of adventure as a normal person, and so we have all the photos of her
Yes.
doing horseback at the carnival,
Yeah.
and, and all the
Parasailing,
places that she's
Jumping
been
out
in,
of a
but,
plane.
that's what she returned with.
So instead of being a kept woman in a wealthy environment where she never had to lift a finger, she left all that and worked, but had a rich, full life. That was her.
Can I ask, I'm gonna go back to that movie again. So does the No Country for Old Men, you said they didn't have a resurrection? They don't have that either?
Well, actually, I'm trying to remember. It's hard to say because I'd have to go back and see or actually read the book, Cormac McCarthy. I think Tommy Lee Jones does have a knowledge, a greater knowledge of philosophy or what he's learned from his experience,
Take on
because he's
life.
actually the hero in the movie and the novel.
Well,
I'm going to say yes,
So-
it does, and I'm
Yeah.
going to say the audience does, because
Yeah.
you see all this death
Because-
and destruction, and everything that. After watching that movie, aren't you glad, boy, that that's not my life?
Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
aren't you thankful of what you have
Oh yeah,
after watching that movie?
and
That's your elixir right there.
yeah.
Well, maybe the resurrection's in us, the audience, the people. I mean, I don't know. Is that
Yeah.
a possibility?
I would say yes.
I
Yeah,
love
actually, I
that.
say yes
Yeah.
because
Maybe that's why you
because
like it.
that
Yeah.
Yeah.
those people
It's
die,
true.
and you're glad you're alive.
And
So you
don't-
almost feel like, hey, you've got a second chance to life.
Yeah.
Don't
Yeah.
good books change you that way?
Yeah.
Like you see,
Yeah.
even though it's a completely different world from yours or anything, but you see yourself in the character somehow. You
Yeah.
see some point of view or some emotion, or you see the change. You're like, oh, I wish I could do that, or I could make that change, fight all this, and that's,
Yeah.
you see yourself in all these steps. That's the point of good writing, fiction or
New
nonfiction.
Year resolution type stuff.
Yeah.
Really,
Yeah.
that's why I was wondering when you start. I was trying to think of a movie where they start with skips and stuff. And most of my movies that I watch are probably pretty predictable.
We talked about one in the last class that was skipping all over, and I
Is that what I can
Fiction
get a
does.
feeling for?
Pulp Fiction does,
Yeah, we
but
talked about
that's.
that here.
And Memento.
Oh, yeah.
That
Oh,
definitely
yeah.
jumps
Love
off.
that movie.
Memento
Yeah.
jumps
That's a
off.
brilliant
I'm
movie.
trying to figure out what kind of emotion. So leaving some of the stuff out, what would what would the reader audience feel? So that way you generate the right feeling, emotion, or lack thereof, or more imagination, less whatever. I
Yeah.
don't know. That's where I come in because I don't think about the readers much. It's just writing a bunch of information down until I see something like this. And go, ooh.
Well, think about this. I
Might
mean,
draw out.
Right.
this is not necessarily a emotion, but I mean, right here you're being educated a little bit. You're getting
Yeah.
a sense of the
Background.
main character and what's going on, and so that's kind of your education. But here, when the hero gets the call to adventure, you probably should feel a little bit excited.
Yeah.
I cannot spell tonight. You should feel a little bit excited here, I would think, as a reader, as a viewer. All right? And then right here, when they refuse to call, as an audience member, you should feel disappointed.
But to me, I also think you relate to it. At least I do. The
Well,
refusal
yeah.
to call things. You're like, oh, I get it. You
It's the
know.
resistance. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe with the meeting of the mentor, you should feel hopeful